Okay, so we're getting started. We're calling this event A Hike with Mike. We've got Commissioner Mike Kuhn with us, and we're going to go out and take a look at what's been going on in the forest. Stewardship logging's been going on, and we want to see it happen a different way, you know, without the massive timber harvests, without the loss of the ecosystem. There's a lot of damage being done, and it doesn't have to be like that.
See any and think, hey, I gotta make one.
We are now at the site of the timber harvesting that went on in the winter of 2020 into 2021. So you can see in both directions we've got fencing put up to exclude the deer. The game plan, what they do is they come in with tanker trucks of herbicide, kill everything from ground level to 20 feet up that would compete with new seedlings, and then they go in with a shear, a big mower on the front of a skid steer, and they shear down all the trees that have a circumference of like less than 6 inches. Kind of like anything that's all the smaller trees, or the majority of them, just get mowed down because they would cast shade onto new seedlings. So they leave about 10 mature trees per acre to reseed the forest, and then they plant seedlings. I think they're failing by their own merits. The invasive plants are just spilling in and replacing our native plants. The forest is more than just trees. There's a complex web of life that forms an ecosystem here, and it's just being scraped away. And it doesn't all come pouring back in. This is probably fine based on the standards of commercial forestry. But as far as ecology is concerned, we are not doing right by this forest. They're only allowed to log because they say they're helping the forest. They made a justification. And what they're addressing is a very real problem. We have way too many deer here, and the deer are not allowing the forest to regenerate. And this is a problem all up and down the east coast of the United States. Our deer population is out of control. They eat too many small trees, and if we don't do something about it, we won't have the mature trees to sustain this ecosystem in the future. But the way they're going about it, I think, could be a little bit less heavy-handed. So if you look out in both directions, you'll see a lot of standing trees that are dead. They leave trees that are dead for animals, for habitat, for woodpeckers, but a lot of these trees have died after the timber harvesting. Oak decline is another major threat to our forests right now. It's exacerbated by climate change, compaction from human activity, like the bulldozers they used gathering up the trees. It's exacerbated by drought stress. We had a terribly dry summer last year, and all of the canopy being removed the moist microclimate. You know, I did say I was not going to be too long-winded. I'm getting there. All right, so, and I'm also not going to do a question and answer because that's something else that could end up taking a real long time, but I just want to show you what's going on here. There are a lot of invasive plants, and if you don't have the right eyes to see, you might not notice what tree is what. It's hard to know, but there are tons of the tree of heaven, which is the host tree of the spotted lanternfly, coming out in this land. There's stilt grass, there's mile-a-minute. The forester was out over this past winter, and he did an application of a pre-emergent herbicide over this whole site to try and fight the stilt grass and the mile-a-minute. But if you look around, you're going to see it on the ground, probably right around your feet somewhere. That's the low green. If you look that direction, that's all the Japanese stilt grass just coming in. Wherever the forest is disturbed, we have invasive plants. And this problem is as much a threat to this ecosystem as the deer eating the baby trees. I would like to introduce you our County Commissioner, Mike Kuhn. Thank you so much for being here today and taking a look at this with us.
Hold your clothes. I'm here to listen and to learn. My knowledge and experience with Governor Dick was probably hiking up here a dozen or so times during my high school years with buddies, and then when my kids were of that age 20 years ago or so. Did it a few more times. So in the last year or so, I'm learning a lot. Ryan was one of the first people to reach out to me, and that was the beginning of new education on this, and that's what my job is about. Again, I need to learn. I need to make good decisions, and so I appreciate being here to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to keep walking. We're going to go back down to Trail 5 and head up to Trail 5, and I'm going to talk to you about what the forest looks like, where they're going to cut next, and then we'll continue up to the tower. A short distance after the next stop, there'll be a spot where if anyone doesn't feel like hiking all the way up to the tower, you can cut back into the neighborhood and back down to the community building. The hunters? Yeah. Pretty close.
Because I walk my dogs every morning in that station area, and then I come here in the afternoon.
I avoid being out there in rifle season.
Yeah, no, I don't. I won't go
A
out.
round of applause for nature. Not buggy, breezy, beautiful. And it rained. Thank you, God.
Yes.
Okay, so the next area of stewardship activities is right over my shoulder here. They've modified their game plan. They're not going to do the exact same thing they did the last time and the time before that and the time before that. What they will do is get their large machine with the tree shears, cut down. See all these guys? All of these get sheared down. We've got oaks, we've got beech, we've got cherry, we've got native trees. The idea is to get as much light on the forest floor as possible, and then they're going to put up the fence, and then they're going to let the oaks regenerate on their own. At the point where the oaks are tall enough that the deer can't eat the top leaves, they'll come in and they'll do their timber harvest. So we're not in immediate threat of having this forest cut all the way down. They've sort of kicked the ball down the road a little bit. So what they're going to do is fence it off, let the young trees grow before they come in and cut down the majority of the mature trees. So what we advocate for is an approach that deals with the situation but is not so heavy-handed. You know, like I said last time, the forest is way more than just the trees. There is a whole vibrant ecosystem here that gets crushed, literally, by these activities. You know, by bringing the herbicide in, you kill so much, and it doesn't all pour back in. We've got native orchids out in this forest. We have rare plants. We have stuff that just isn't going to be what it was after they do it. You know, one alternative would be smaller fence sections that could be monitored and taken care of a little more easily. Of those of you, show of hands, who hikes in this park and have seen deer inside the fences, right? Yeah, it is a constant problem. If you have an enclosure going around 40 acres, any tree branch falls on that fence, you've compromised the entire enclosure. Last winter, there were 3 deer trapped in that new fence, the big one, 40 acres. They wiped out, according to the forester, they wiped out almost all the seedlings that they had planted the year prior. So if we put smaller enclosures, each one exists independently of the others. And we could do that without forcing things along. If we cut down all these trees to make more sunlight hit the ground, you know what else we invite in? The invasives. We bring those machines in here to roll around. What do we invite in? The invasive trees. So if we build small fences around trees that exist that are trying to grow, if we plant small oak trees in these things and give them the time, we can do this. We can do it differently without all the damage. We can do it without the herbicides in this forest. We can preserve what's here. These trees, the forester calls them suppressed trees because they're the understory. You know, he's got a doctorate in this and I don't. I will admit that. But this tree and that tree and that tree, they're waiting for the big guys to drop. Someday when these mature trees do die, because there is a lifespan, which is, mind you, an oak tree can live between 300 and 600 years. Like, this tree isn't done. When you say it's mature in the terms of forestry. You know, forestry measures the forest in terms of board feet. That's a measure of how much lumber you can get out of it. We need to measure the health of the forest in terms of ecology, not forestry. Just the perspective that they've been looking at the forest through is just not the right way to look at it, and it's time for change. I think we need more people, new people on that board of directors of the park with different opinions. The fenced area, there's a reservoir sunk into the ground there, and the wellhead is directly up behind me on this graveled lane. It's on park property, just barely over the line, but it supplies water to the heights. So there are definitely questions about water quality and forestry activities. All right, we're going to continue on Trail 5 and then all the way out to the fire road and up the hill. So this is your last chance to turn around and not climb the mountain.
How far back will they start logging if and when they do? Will it be immediate or will it be way up the mountain?
They give trails a 50-foot buffer, and the property line for the heights is actually above us here. So there'll be a buffer. There is a triangle between Trail 5, Trail 6, and Trail 9 that they will operate within. So the exact location, I don't know, but it's within that triangle.
Got it.
No, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense what they're doing.
The 57 acres or whatever that was preserved over on Butler Road.
Yep.
Keep an eye out for young oak seedlings.
And snakes.
There are hundreds of small oak trees growing along this section of the trail. That'd be an example of where you could put up fencing to protect them. Like in this section, there's just like a multitude of small trees. This is an example of somewhere that if you put up just a small enclosure, it'd be easier to monitor that small enclosure and make sure there's not a breach in the fence. When the forester was camped out here, doing his work, he said he repaired 3 breaches in the fence in the time that he was camped out here. So it is constant vigilance to keep those fences intact. All right, so here we are at the tower. This clear cut was done to open up the view from the tower to see all the surrounding counties. And it's true that the view from the top is amazing, as long as you don't look down. There are a lot of people who have expressed to me that they just can't come here again because it just sickens their heart. And I'm sick also seeing it, but I'm still coming up here. Significantly more trees were cut down than were necessary to achieve the goal of being able to see out beyond the nearby trees. If you go up that tower, and I recommend everyone, if you don't do that now, you really should go. It's amazing. They took significantly more than was necessary. The other piece of the project up here are the cameras and lights that were installed. It's the tower security project. It cost around $300,000 to achieve. The grants came from various government entities. The goal was to stop vandalism and partying and just general stuff they don't want. The definition of vandalism is the destruction of public or private property. I think that they've achieved vandalism in doing this. Thank you, thank you. I mean, for $300,000, how many times could you paint over graffiti on the tower? And apparently, and I attended their meetings, the graffiti hasn't stopped. And I guess there was a drug overdose, and they, how are you going to stop someone from doing drugs with cameras? It's beyond me. So I believe that the board of directors of this park is well-intentioned, but they don't take the voices that come to them from the outside community seriously. There's a long history of people coming to them with concerns, and those people have just been shut out of the conversation, and that just really has to change, because this park is a gift to all of us, and it's ours. And I think that ends my pontification. All right. Again, thank you everyone for coming out. When the new county 911 center is complete, it will be hooked up to monitors there. There'll be motion triggered that, like, if someone's up here at night, it's supposed to know if it's like a deer versus a person and just put out an alert. So I guess the police could be notified that someone walked through and they send them up. And then the ranger is supposed to be able to access this. Last I heard, he hadn't figured out the technology yet. So yeah, Friends of Governor Dick, check us out online, sign up for our newsletter. We're gonna do events over the summer. We're gonna try and keep the momentum going to try and raise the issue that we can have change, and hopefully we'll be successful. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for coming out today. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, quiet.
Around this.
They will.
Oh, it's coming.
They will do a fence. The plan up here, meadow is over there. There's a wildflower meadow. They're going to continue meadow plants over on this side, and lower down they're going to do like shrubs and trees that won't grow up to canopy height. Is the plan.
All right.
Anything else? Where's the money trail go? Well, the money is referred to as margins, not profits. Back into the coffers of the park. I believe that the take on this was something like $15,000. The big cutting over there that we saw earlier, I can't remember if it was like 163 or 205, but it was hundreds of thousands of dollars that are generated. All of this is sanctioned by USDA. There's grant money that subsidizes the fence building and the forestry activities, because Pennsylvania's in business. So from the standpoint of timbering, from the standpoint of forestry, this is all A-okay. This is kind of what's done. This is not what Clarence Schock intended for this park. When he left this in perpetuity as a forest for the community, this is not what he wanted. I want to thank Mike Kuhn for joining us, making it all the way up this mountain with us today. Thank you for taking this issue seriously.
Ryan, again, it's part of my job. I appreciate your passion for this. I said it is a great gift that Clarence Schock gave to this community. Actually, remember the school district initially had control. We at least now have a local control over it. So it's our job, and it's to take care of it the best way we know how.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And whenever you decide, I just thank you for hearing us out and coming with us.
Well, I'm only one voice and one vote, but I appreciate the information. I'm always willing to listen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.